Hey, this is Dana Coverstone. I'm a pastor, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a patriot. I love this country. And I can confirm the first part of what I'm about to tell you because I told some men at a prayer group back in December, second or third week of December. I want to share three specific dreams that I've had recently, going back to December, two that I've had this week, both Monday and last night, Monday and Tuesday night. Because I believe, number one, they are prophetic. The first one that I had has come explicitly true based on the events of March through June, the month in which we're living. And I do not claim to be a prophet by any means. I understand, though, that some dreams and visions by their nature have a prophetic tendency to them. But I do believe I've seen things, both that have happened, as relevant by the first dream that I had, and some things that I've seen recently. So you can take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. You can pray about it. You can think about it. But I believe that I have a warning for the country, a warning for rural America, a warning for America overall. But here's what happened. Back in December, I woke up. I had a dream, and in that dream, I saw a calendar starting January 2020, and it was being flipped. And I saw January, I saw February, I saw March. And when March came up, the hand held it, and I saw a finger underline the month of March, and then tap it 3 times. So underline the month of March, tapped it 3 times. So to me, it was emphasis. Something's going to happen in March. And then I saw April, May, June. And when June came, the hand underlined June again and tapped it 3 times. Then, in the vision, I saw people marching, I saw protests, I saw people wearing masks, I saw lines going into hospitals. I saw typical medical doctors with needles or syringes. I saw people on ventilators. I saw people who were very, very sick, very, very ill. I saw newspaper headlines trumpeting thousands of people getting sick. I saw ambulances just flying down roads. And then I saw cities on fire. I saw buildings being burned. I saw protesters with masks. I saw people who had their fists in the air, people who were yelling and screaming, angry just at the world. I saw courthouses. I saw state houses surrounded. I saw people who were mad at the world. I saw guns, shotguns specifically, put in the air, held like this, and I saw barriers within cities. And I told several men in my church about this, and I can confirm who those men were, and they'll confirm that what I'm telling you is what I told them. I saw absolute chaos. And the other thing I saw was vultures flying over large cities. Not just the ones that were burning, but I saw vultures flying over the cities. And I saw smoke rising, and I saw people fearful. I saw people terrified. I saw people inside their homes and looking out the windows, the curtains of their windows, with guns in their hands because there was absolute fear. Then I heard the words, brace yourself, brace yourself. So since December, I've been hearing those words, brace yourself, brace yourself. January, February came, didn't seem too much. I reminded the men of the dream, and then in March, boom, COVID-19 hit. And things started shutting down. Churches were shut down, business was shut down, the economy shut down. Then we began to see the protests starting in May in Minneapolis, and all those things began to go on. So where we are at the end of the primary election here in Kentucky, and now there's talk of more shutdowns. I just heard the governor talk about schools opening back up and things of that nature. But the things that I saw in a dream and vision back in December are the same things that I watched in the news almost every day since March through June. All this time I kept hearing, brace yourself, brace yourself. I spend time in prayer. I spend time in the Word. I'm a pastor. And it's not just my job. It's something that I enjoy doing, I love doing, and I'm very interested in the news around the world. I read 40 newspapers a day from all around the world. I keep up with news in other parts of the nations better sometimes than I hear here because it's hard to know who to trust. But I get news from all over the world, all around the world, from both liberal and conservative sources. I'm very well read. I'm very understanding of how nations work. I've traveled quite a bit, and I'm not just making these things up. I can confirm what I have said. And with that in mind, on Monday night, I had another dream. and it woke me from my bed. I made notes about it. I shot some video of myself, just making sure I can remember. But here's what I saw. I saw a calendar. Start with a calendar. And as I was having this, the calendar was up, a white figure appeared. And to me, it was representing God, the Holy Spirit, something pure, something righteous, something true, something holy, because there was nothing sinister about it, nothing evil. But I heard the voice say, part two, part two. And I saw June go up. I saw July, I saw August, and then I saw September. And I saw the finger underneath the word September, and like emphasizing it, and tapped it 3 times. And then I saw October come up, and then I saw November. And this is when it got real to me in the dream. I think the intensity, according to my Fitbit, when I woke up, my heart rate was about 180. So that was Monday night. It was also a night that I woke up not feeling very well at all. I was up during the night, not feeling well. But anyway, the minute the finger underlined November 3 times, instead of tapping it, I saw a fist ball up and it hit the calendar. And literally, the calendar exploded into the wall. The numbers seemed like they were 3D and they were just flying everywhere. And there was a cloud of chaos that started. And then the next thing I saw was I saw armed protesters. I saw fighting in the streets. I saw people pummeling one another. I saw businesses shuttered and shut up. I saw schools closed. I saw schoolrooms with cobwebs hanging in them, and like things like papers falling off the wall and posters falling, like no one had been in them for months. I saw bank buildings with the roofs being taken off. And it looked almost like alien abduction, because money was just flying through the roof into some type of like a vacuum cleaner. I know it sounds kind of strange, but I was watching wealth just being taken. I saw politicians in back rooms making deals with people, patting people on the back and laughing and smiling and smirking. And I saw monuments. I saw Washington, D.C. burning. I saw Washington, D.C. blazing. I saw fires everywhere. I saw people being rounded up. I saw Chinese and Russian soldiers on the ground. And Russian soldiers were telling the Chinese soldiers to go and pick up these people, round up these people, secure this quadrant, secure this area. I saw blue helmets of the UN. I saw military things taking place. I also saw no sign of President Trump. I saw no sign of leadership in Washington, D.C. But the vultures that I had seen were now like gargoyles, and they were 10 feet off the ground, 10 to 15 feet off the ground. And they were just attacking people mercilessly. I saw people hiding in their homes and garages. I saw churches being burned. I saw homes being burned. I saw absolute chaos. And the fist punch on the November of 2020 is what got my attention. And then I heard the words again, brace yourself, brace yourself, brace yourself. That has been something that I have heard for almost 7 months now. Starting once we get to July, it's going to be 7 months. And once again, I'm not claiming to be a prophet. I'm not proclaiming, just let's see what happens through November and see if I'm right about this. But I know when I hear God's voice. I know what God's voice sounds like to me. I know when He speaks. And I know when I have a dream that I know is Him. And the things that I was seeing, I don't say this to scare people, but I say this to warn people that there are some pretty sinister things coming down the pike. And not just for the lost, but for God's people as well. The second dream I had last night, and it woke me up. In this dream, we just had a yard sale to help fund a team going to Ecuador this next year. And we had a yard sale. And I had asked our secretary to get us some change for that yard sale. So in the dream that I'm having, I walk into the bank to get some change. And on the door it says there's no change available. I saw the sign, it registered in my mind, but I walked on in, and the president of the local bank was at the teller station, and she was going to be taking care of business. And I said, I need to get $10 in quarters for a yard sale. And she said, I'm sorry, but the U.S. Mint is no longer making currency or making change like pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars. We're not doing that anymore. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She said, they've stopped doing it. And I said, well, how are we going to be able to charge $1.50 for anything? And she said, prepare for hyperinflation and just charge $2. And then she said to me in the dream, oh, and by the way, $1 and $5 bills will follow soon after that. And then I heard those words, brace yourself, brace yourself, brace yourself. And I believe that we're going to see not just a second huge wave of COVID between September, October, November, but we're going to see major things with the elections. We're going to see major chaos in our country. We're going to see troops in our cities. We're going to see the protests get even worse. We're going to see buildings burn. We're going to see what could only lead to civil war in this country. And so for my friends that are believers, I'm just going to share you what I think you need to hear. First of all, you need to be preparing food. You need to make sure you've got alternative forms of currency like silver or gold or whatever. I believe you need to have an ample supply of both guns and ammunition. And that's not just the Second Amendment fan in me coming out. That is the things that we're seeing. They're talking about defunding the police. That means one thing. You're on your own in a lot of areas. I also believe you need to be praying like you never prayed before. Make sure your family knows what's going on, where you are. Have some communication between your family about if certain things happen, if certain things go down.
I had a dream this past Friday night, and I shared it Sunday morning live at my church. I didn't want to do a Facebook one again. But I had a dream that followed the same pattern of the months, and I saw the calendar turn to September. And a hand reached up and grabbed the month of September and pulled it off of the page. And then it laid it down in front of an altar. And we have a secret place in our church that we built about 7-8 years ago. Our altar has horns on it, just like the one mentioned in the Bible. We have the 4 cardinal doctrines of the Sons of God are on pictures in there. And I saw the month of September laid down in front of that altar where I pray at every day. Sometimes I hold on to those horns just because I need it for that day. But the September month was laid on the ground, and I was instructed to stand on the month of September and begin to pray for several things specifically. I was instructed to pray for the church to have a strong backbone, for corruption in the church to be exposed, and for a great harvest. And so I stand on the calendar, and I begin to pray for those things. And as I'm praying, I hear a voice that says, "You're not enough. We need more people praying, so ask for more help." So as I'm standing on the calendar, I'm calling out, pastors, people, believers, whoever you are, we need to pray for the church to have a strong backbone, for corruption to be exposed, and for a great harvest. And suddenly the calendar below me just begins to get larger exponentially. And it reminded me of I've been to Europe a couple of times, and they have plazas and courtyard areas where they have like the large life-size chess pieces. And the calendar where I'm standing on, it was Tuesday, September 1st that I'm standing on. And it just gets exponentially bigger. And finally I see the calendar, it looks like the size of a football field. But all of a sudden, I'm not the only one praying. Somebody else is standing on September 1st with me, and there's a couple more on September 2nd and the rest of the days. And there were people that were praying in tongues. There were some that were praying out loud. There were some that were very quiet. There were some that were kneeling, some laying prostrate, every model of prayer that you can imagine. But then the cry went out again, we need more help. We need more people to pray. So we began to as loud as we could, all of us. Church, we need help. We need help. We need to come. You need to come. You need to pray. And so suddenly I realized that the outline of the calendar was now outlined of the contours of the United States of America, including Alaska and Hawaii. But I'm seeing the outline of the country, but the calendar of September is there. And I'm kind of being raised in the air as more and more people are jumping onto the calendar and people are praying. All of a sudden, there's no white space on the calendar, and people are feeling. They look like ants. People look like ants, but I see people standing all over the calendar on the country of the United States, and they're praying. They're praying for the church to have a strong backbone, for corruption to be exposed, and for a great harvest. And then I see a finger appear, and I see the word, and it writes, A, Solemn, in front of September, and then assembly afterwards. So I'm looking at the word a solemn September assembly, which is a clear call to pray for that month. And the numbers of people just keep growing and growing and growing, and the contour of the U.S. is still there. And then suddenly I see fires. Fires are starting around the edges of America. There's fires starting inside. And some of the fires are the fires of revival that are starting all over the country, but I also see fires of opposition and persecution. And then I see storm clouds all over the country, even while we're praying. There's rains, there's storms. And I can see in the heavens this demonic warfare with the angels of God. And you can hear the sabers rattling, and you can hear the fights. You can hear the grunts and the groans of the battle. I mean, it was a fight. And the people that were praying, the fires of revival were coming, but the fires of opposition were also coming to the body of Christ. And I saw warfare. It was just, I saw the weariness of the saints. Believers were holding each other up and standing together without any division, and they were fighting together in prayer. And the battle was severe. It was intense. It was brutal. I mean, it was there were people bleeding and wounded, bruised and exhausted from all the praying. And as I said, the heavens were alive as well with that. But when suddenly the heavens kind of opened and the storms kind of broke, and my mind and my attention was turned to the end of the month of September, where there was a whole lot of people still praying on that day. And the heavens opened. And I saw the Lord, and he was standing there with angels. And he said very clearly, "Arise, my bride. Arise, my bride, and prepare to pray. Arise, my bride, and prepare for battle." And lastly, he said, arise, my bride, and prepare to see my face. For I'm coming soon, and my reward is with me. And then there was a sound like of 1,000 shofars being blown all at once. And even in the dream, I could feel the wind of those shofars hitting my face. And I woke up, and there was just an overwhelming, peaceful presence about me. And I got up, and I wrote these things down, and I just kind of typed them out. And I believe the Lord was calling us to pray for the entire month of September, but to expect some of the most serious spiritual warfare that we've ever been called to do and called to expect. I don't know what's going to follow that specific month, but I feel in my heart the battles are going to be very, very serious, because the Lord said, arise, my bride. He only calls us his bride when he's ready to come get us. And I'm not date setting by any means. I'm not saying that October 1st Jesus comes. I'm not saying that. Jesus was just simply telling us that he's about to come. And we know that, we sense that, we realize that. And he said, arise, my bride, and prepare to pray. In other words, he was saying, whatever prayer life we have right now is not going to be good enough for the battles and the things that are coming, that we have got to get it straight. We've got to get it settled. That 5-minute devotion that some believers do every single morning, and they read one verse and read 2 paragraphs and say, okay, Lord, let this happen, and go on, that's not going to cut it. I believe the Lord is showing me that we need to get, as a nation, we need to pray. We need to get on top of this, on board with this, and get the people in your church praying for every single day in the nation. And we should expect opposition like we've never seen before, but we should also expect great victory, because he's warning us we need to pray. He's waking the church up even more to get ready. And then he's waking us up to prepare for the battle that's coming, but he's also preparing us for that glorious time we'll see his face, which I don't believe is going to be too much longer.